Spirit. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Medina Oyedele, and today it's another interesting edition of the highly sought after educator. As we've promised, this is the 4.0, and it's been a whole lot putting this together. I can assure you that. We're discussing this backstage, and my guest was we're having some interesting conversation, but we're so grateful that we're here. We're grateful that we're making it to those points. So thank you so much for joining me. So for today's day one, we'll be having three speakers. We're having Coach Efeni, we'll be having Coach Janice, and we'll be having Coach Salome as the last speaker for today. If you're just coming across my face for the first time, my name is Medina Oyedele. I am a bilingual educator. I'm an edupreneur. I'm a podcaster, published author, and life coach. I think that just does it. Before we go on, so thank you so much for joining. The highly sought after educator is an offshoot of the academy which I founded in 2020, which is the Teachers Reform Academy. The academy is aimed at helping educators become visible, make impact, and of course make profit from their knowledge. So how else do we gain our reward as educators, if not here on earth? I mean, like, have you heard of that adage that people say, teacher's reward is in heaven? I bet to differ because I'm a living witness that you can have your reward here on earth and then have it plus in heaven, because over the last 4 years of being intentional online, I've gained a lot of a lot, building my brand, winning award, being recognized by educational bodies in my country, and it's been an amazing journey. I mean, today, unlike what it was a few years ago, I couldn't have told anybody like search my name online. Now, but today I can easily say Google my name, and I know what you will find will impress you. And this is the same thing that we are trying to replicate by organizing this conference. And we tag this conference the highly sought after educator. But you don't become highly sought after by chance. You have to put some things in place. You have to make sure that some things are in order. And I'm going to share 4 points with you before I bring my first guest on board, which is the first thing I did when I became intentional online was to actually change my mindset. You know, mindset, I'm sure you've probably heard of it, and it's beginning to sound like a cliche, but it's not. One of the things that is holding people back, not only educators, that is holding them back from actually achieving the height at which they should be achieving, is the mindset, is limiting beliefs. You know, because of the kind of profession I'm in, which is education, most people tend to say that teachers are usually poor, and I don't know where they get that from. Educators are not poor. Educators are not poor. If you're an educator and in the sense of being poor, you see yourself, then that means there's something you're not doing right. Yes, I said what I said. Because if you're an educator, you've gained so much knowledge to actually make enough money. I personally, sometimes I don't wait on my salary. Let me put it straight. I don't wait on my salary because I have online courses, I have books that I sell, I have coaching programs, and I have trainings that I do. And so most time my salary is just an addition. It's just one of those streams of income. But there was a time where I didn't believe that. I never believed that I could actually make more money that I'm like creating digital products that I'm making as a classroom teacher. I'd never believed that. I've been online for a while, especially when I was a co-host of a radio station way back in my university days. I could have leveraged the online space, but I didn't know better. So from the time I became intentional about my brand, and then I started pushing it out, the mindset is to grow as much as possible. And you don't grow suddenly. You grow by attending conferences like this, by paying for courses, by buying books. But the idea is that you should not stay in that state where you believe that teachers are poor. You need to change your mindset about whatever it is that you have believed over the years about teachers. This is very key and is very, very core. So as educators, one of the things you will do for yourself this year going forward, I mean, the year is just halfway gone, you can still achieve a lot. When I became intentional online, within 3 months of intentionality, I began to see results. You can also achieve more results if you become intentional from today. So changing your mindset from that limiting mindset to the growth mindset will go a long way in helping you achieving more results. The second thing I would like to say is that be trendy. Be trending. A lot is happening right now in the world of technology that you can't afford to be left behind. You can't afford to be left behind if you are going to be making waves, if you're going to be making impact, if you're going to be making profit, and if you're going to be visible. If we search your name right now online, what are we going to find? What digital footprint do you have? All right. So every day it's as if technology is just waking us up to the reality of, hey, the world is moving and is moving very fast. And as an educator that wants to become highly sought after, you can't afford to be left behind. They can't be, your students can't be, or your learners, they can't be talking AI intelligence and you're wondering what is AI intelligence, right? So we have to be intentional about being, I mean, leveraging the online space. A lot of things that you can do with the online space. From where you are, wherever you're watching this from, you can actually leverage the online space and sell yourself to the global community. And then the third thing I would like to talk about is to learn how others that have gone ahead of you have done it. I pay for courses. I buy books. I attend conferences paid and free. So you can't afford to, you will not gain premium on free platforms. I'm sorry. This might sound but yes, I understand that there are platforms where you can have a lot of things for free and still learn it. What those platforms do is that they give you general information. But if you pay for classes, like personalized classes, pay for courses, specific courses, you grow faster. You will grow with other platforms that offers free resources, but it will take you time. I personally feel like the time you're trying to waste could be preserved and then you make more impact and grow faster. Okay. And then the last thing I would like to share is to be creative. You can't afford to be doing business as usual if you really want to achieve different results. Business as usual is no more trending, it's no more valuable. Business as usual has changed. If you're not aware that business has changed, business has changed. So we have to be intentional about being. I want to share. I want us to ponder on these things and then how can you as an educator take yourself, not necessarily leaving the classroom, you don't have to leave the classroom, you don't have to leave the classroom, you stay in the class. I'm still teaching, just that I've leveraged the online space and I've spread myself very wide that I can be I always say I can be everywhere at the same time. So, I mean, that is it. So, thank you so much for listening to my TED Talk. I hope this has been of great profit to you. While we are at it, while you're still pondering, I'm going to be bringing up my first guest, and she'll come on board. She will introduce herself. I like when people introduce themselves because it makes it very, very real. And then she's going to go straight into the section that we have. So welcome with me, Coach Janice. You are welcome.
Hello, hello everyone. It's nice to be here. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much, Medina. I've learned so much from the little that you shared, and I'm here to share my own bit to add to all the beautiful things that you have said about the highly sought out educator. Um, my name is Janice Jochit Adedeji. I am first of all a teacher before I transitioned into a public speaker. But one beautiful thing about being a teacher is it never gets out of season. It never leaves your life. It's
Mhm.
once a teacher, always a teacher. I am a sought after educator. Why? Because every time I decide to, okay, let me just stay as a moderator, the teaching profession will still call me to come and share my knowledge. When I decide to stay as a public speaker, that teacher in me will still say, no, you have a lot of value to give as a teacher. So go back and give us that value. So as a public speaker, I am also a sought after educator because I am always willing and ready to share my knowledge as an educator. Now, I am a moderator, I am also a trainer, and I am also a virtual teacher of the English language. All these aspects that I always exhibit all come back to the foundation of being a teacher. A teacher is a role model that can assume any role per time, and I am still doing that. I will continue to do it forever. So when I am not teaching, I am coordinating for an NGO, Women of Might, because I love when women can be confident and showcase their value to others so that others can be more confident. So I have a mentoring program where I help women and any individual who desires to move his or her confidence to the next level. So I am happy to be here. And I am sure that by the time we are done with this session, you are going to be more enlightened than you were when you joined. Thank you so much, Medinat, once again for the opportunity. And before I continue, I would like to let you know that I did something I do not like to talk about. Not because it's bad, but because I feel that I need your contribution to tell me if I did right or did wrong. Now, it's about Stephen. Stephen was a student in my class, and Stephen had a challenge. One day he jumped into my class and was sulking. Stephen, what's the problem? That's how he was sulking. He couldn't speak. And I was wondering, what is your problem? Tell me something. Why are you sulking? And he kept on sulking. And out of annoyance, I said, Stephen, get out of my class. When you are ready to talk and when you have gathered your thoughts together, you can come back and tell me what the problem is. So Stephen went out and got so good. It was during break, so I had a few minutes to spend before we resume activities in the class. So after like 5 minutes, Stephen came back in and I asked him, Stephen, what is the problem? And he said, it was John. John offended me and I could not defend myself. And all I could do was cry. I said, really? John offended you? I could not do, you could not, what do you mean? He said, whenever people offend me, even when I'm right and I can be able to tackle them, I always hold back because I don't have the confidence to face them or to exchange words with them. And I called Stephen aside and I said, sit. And he sat. And I told him, listen, you are a man, you are a good person, and you have so much to offer. But when you cannot express yourself and defend yourself by talking, people will always make fun of you. People will always jeer at you. People will always put you on the spot for negative things. Now, this is what you will do whenever you are confronted with such situations. Sit down, go and get yourself together. Breathe in, breathe out. When you do that, count 1 to 3 and then express yourself. When you express yourself, you will begin to feel relieved and people will begin to understand that you are not a fool, but you know your onions, and you can always express yourself whenever you desire to. It is okay to cry, but when you cry, gather yourself together and still express yourself in words that people can understand. Now, when I told Stephen that, that was the last time Stephen sulked when he was expressing himself. That was the last time he allowed people to bully him. That was the last time people even had the guts to make fun of him. I taught him confidence. I taught him that you can express yourself even when you feel bad, for people to understand and treat you according to what you deserve. Now, why am I telling you this story? I am telling you this story because as a 21st century educator, you must be able to stand in at every point in time. You must be able to stand in as a mentor for your children or your students. You must be able to stand in as a parent. You must be able to stand in as a teacher that you are. You must not be restricted by any situation. You must be versatile. You must be someone that is sought after anywhere and at any time. Now, that Stephen I am talking about is now a musician. His foundation almost got altered. But because I decided to stand in as a first century educator to help him realize that he is not just a person, he is special and he has something to offer. He was able to overcome his lack of confidence and low self-esteem to be able to move up in life. So, as a sought after educator, what are you doing to help your students move up? What are you doing to help the people around you to be transformed? What are you doing to make people's confidence to be boosted because you are there? It is not enough to read your lesson note and just pour it out the way it's supposed to be. How are you relating that lesson note to the lives of your students? How are you relating that lesson note to be able to make your students to apply it to life situations and be able to soar? How are you taking care of your own according to the situation that you find yourself, according to the scenario that plays out when you are there? To be a sought after educator is not a child's play. You must always be ready to deliver per time. There are things that you learn along the way that is not for you. It's not for you because you are supposed to use it to help others. It's not for you because you are supposed to stand in as someone that is always a solution per time. Don't be stuck. Some teachers are stuck. When you take lessons from a physics teacher to an English teacher, he or she may not be able to apply it and transform it into his or her own situation. They will feel that physics lesson or physics ideas are for physics teachers. Home economics ideas are for home economics teachers. What if you are a primary school teacher and a child brings a home economics kind of question to you? How are you going to apply it? Now, as a teacher of the English language, I use everything at my disposal to make sure that I stand out. Not because I want to show off, that is far from it, but because I want to be a solution at all times. At all times. Now, let me tell you a story about Ayomide, another student in my class. I gave them a comprehension passage to read. They read it and they did their assignment and they did very well. So I said, okay, write a composition about your best food. And Ayomide went in the composition. My best food is rice. I do not like beans because whenever whenever I eat beans, I have a running stomach. But my mommy does not understand. She thinks I am selective about the food I eat. So she's always imposing beans on me. And whenever I eat beans, my stomach is not always settled. I will go to the toilet very, very often, and it makes me uncomfortable and disorganized. Most times when I eat beans, I don't sleep well, and this affects the class in the morning. I will not be able to concentrate. I will not be able to do what I'm supposed to do. I will not be able to do this and that. And she went on and on in the composition. My God, when I read it, I felt for her. I felt for her. And I personally went to visit her mom and decided to table this issue and told her, look, ma, Ayomide is not selective. She is really troubled when she eats beans. It affects her gut and it makes her uncomfortable. Her body does not allow her to eat beans. So please, whenever you cook beans, kindly cook something different for Ayomide. And lo and behold, it worked. Whenever they cook beans at home, she cooks a different thing for Ayomide. How was I able to do that? I positioned myself as a parent when I read that composition. And I made sure that a solution came because I went to see Ayomide's mom. How many of you do this? How many? Now, I am using this storytelling to help you understand that you are everything as an educator. You are everything. So try and do what you need to do part time so that your students can always call upon you to solve their problem. I remember when we were in primary school, we had a lot of books that referred to places that we did not know. For example, there was one I read, there was Sapele inside the book. I have never been to Sapele. I don't know where Sapele is. That was then. I did not understand why they had to bring Sapele into an English lesson for me. And it was difficult for me to relate because I did not know anything about Sapele. Now, for you as a 21st century educator, what do you do in that situation? What you do is relate it to your present situation, to your children's relatable environment. Your children's environment. Put the names of their parents in the place where they put somebody else's name. Put it there. For example, if they say Mr. Idemudia is a palm wine tapper, he lives in Sapele, ask your student in your class, hello Joseph, what is your father's name? What does he do? And change that to relate to John's father or his mother. That is how to be a 21st century educator. You are relating everything that you teach to true life situations so that those kids can be able to relate even when they are not in your class. In Nigeria, for some of us, we don't know how to relate life situations with class situations. We put them in separate aspects in our lives. That's why you find people doing well in school, but when you now leave school, you find it difficult to cope. Not because you are stupid, not because you did not learn anything, but because you are not able to relate the class situations to the things that are happening in your life. But when you teach children with realistic situations that capture what they go through in their day-to-day activity, that is when you are a 21st century educator, because your education does not only take place in the classroom, but it takes place in life situations where the children can be able to relate and actually put those practicals into their lives and be able to move on. We're able to see life in the situation that it's supposed to be. You find our children saying, no, that was when I was in the class. Now, I'm not able to apply it because the classroom is different from this place. No, a 21st century educator should be able to make his children apply life situations, side by side classroom scenarios, and be able to move on in life. Now, before we go on, I've not told you the topic that I am treating. The topic that I'm treating is captivate, don't confuse, weaving storytelling into the 21st century English classroom. My topic again, captivate, don't confuse, weaving storytelling into the 21st century English language lesson or classroom. Now, gone are the days when we will put all the textbooks in our head and give it out word for word. Gone are the days when you will virtually copy all the things that you see because you are not able to apply them in your own personal way to be able to relate with your students. Things have gone beyond what we used to know. What we used to know then was garbage in, garbage out. No, it's no longer that way. It's no longer that way because immediately you give us the raw material as a 21st century educator, we transform it to suit each person in our class or each person in our personal mentoring program to be able to move on and relate it to their lives and be able to apply it and also be able to replicate it. When you are not a 21st century educator, that is when your students cannot be able to create their own lessons or create their own understanding from what you are teaching to relate to situations around them. For example, when I was talking about Stephen, I left the classroom teacher and I became a mentor and taught him confidence. A lot of us did not experience that because we did not have teachers who even understood what they were doing before they will now say they want to recreate what they are doing to suit individuals in your class. In your class, there are geniuses. In your class, there are laggards. In your class, there are slow learners. In your class, there are very fast learners. There's no dullard in education. So if you are a 21st century educator, you never call anybody a dullard. The person is just slow, and the person will learn when you take your time to be able to instill in the child that, see, I know that you know this thing. Okay, we are doing A to Z, but for your sake, we will do A to E because we know that it is A to E that you understand too. You don't do the bandwagon teaching kind of thing. No, you do unique teaching. There's a way you do it that it will not collide with the timing in your classroom. They submit their notes. Yes, when they submit their notes, when you check as a 21st century educator, you should be able to detect the things that you are supposed to concentrate on when you are teaching your students separately and individually. Don't say, everybody understands. Do you understand? Yes, and you continue. No, don't be that kind of educator. Gone are the days when people used to do that. People don't do that. People don't do that anymore. If you are still doing it, it's because you have decided to remain in the past. You must teach people individually. As much as you teach them collectively, teach them also individually so that your learning in your class can take place. Don't be No, this is not what is in the textbook. Don't be like that. Teach them to be able to look outside the textbook, look outside the classroom, through life situations, so that they can be able to cope whenever you are not there. And they can be able to refer to you as an inspiration. Some of us, when we think about our teachers, we think about them in a negative way, because they were not a positive influence in making us move up. I used to have a mathematics teacher. As much as I knew what to write, he was always intimidating us. There was someone that could virtually teach the whole class because he could speak, he had confidence, he could express himself. But for few of us who could not express ourselves, he felt that we were copying that person. And for every time he submitted his note and we submitted ours after him, he said we were copying him. And he flogged us. He made me hate math so much. He made me hate mathematics so much. Because of that teacher. Some of us have made ourselves to be like that, and it's not supposed to be. Make your children to see you as a light, to see you as an inspiration when you are a 21st century educator. You can thrive anywhere. You can thrive anywhere. You can thrive in a local environment, you can thrive abroad, you can thrive anywhere they throw you as a 21st century educator. You thrive because you have gone beyond being stuck with particular types of teaching experiences. You have gone beyond, it is what they taught us that we are saying. You have gone beyond, no, it is not in the textbook. You have gone beyond, no, my teacher did not teach me that. So a 21st century educator must go beyond the classroom, even beyond the textbook, to create scenarios that will help accommodate the kind of things that will make the child stand on its own, stand as a voice, stand as an inspiration to others. Don't create dependent students or mentees. Create independent students and mentees that will sit back and look back at their learning process and say, wow, I now understand why my teacher did not spoon feed me. I understand why my teacher refused that I should copy from the textbook. I understand why my teacher said I should always look at my environment and create my own unique answers. Now, moving forward, here is how you can harness the magic of storytelling for your students. How can you harness the magic of storytelling? Tech savvy tales. Tech savvy tales. Now, when you tell tech savvy tales, it does not mean that you have to be a techie. Most of us are not techie per se. We use technology, yes, but we are not techie. Yet, we make impact. Why? Because we have decided to use multimedia elements, social media elements, tech elements to inculcate it into our storytelling. You don't need to use technology, use moving AI or use the ones that they will use codes and all that. You can use pictures. You want to tell a story about how someone got implicated because of disobedience. You use pictures. When you put the pictures there, you explain and you captivate. When you use visual examples, your children will be captivated. They will focus and listen to you. So you use these elements to be able to make your children understand that technology has moved. Therefore, we must always be relevant with the kind of things that we do in the classroom so that when they move away from your classroom, they will not be lost when they find tech savvy situations that will make them to learn. Do you understand now? So use tech savvy examples to be able to teach as an educator that is sought after, as an educator that is relevant, as an educator that is using technology to move to the next level. Now, what else can you use to be relevant as a 21st century educator. Interactive inceptions. Don't just tell stories. Let your stories be interactive. When you tell your stories, relate it to the children so that they can also contribute. You are trying to make them understand that your education is not tied to just the classroom. You are not tied to just the classroom. You can always relate this to your jobs. You can relate this to teaching children at home, your younger ones, people that look up to you and all that. So make them to always be in tune with everything. They must contribute. Let them not be like a stool. They are living things, for goodness sake. They must talk in the class. They are not stools, neither are they chalkboards or marker boards or pencils. They should always interact in the class. Take turns. Give them turns in adding their own contribution to what you are teaching. For example, you want to tell a story about something, let's say obedience. You can begin. Juliet came from a very religious family, and tell the next person to add the next sentence. And when they are adding it, write it on the board. Write it on the board. So by the time you have 30 students in your class, you have 30 sentences in the story. And when you read it, and the person knows, and the child knows that, I contributed to making this story happen, the child will be very happy. The child will concentrate. The child will continue to contribute in the class because the child knows that his or her contribution makes things happen in the class. Some teachers are the reason why some students muted their inner voice, because when they gave a contribution, you said, shut up, go and sit down. That's irrelevant. No, a 21st century educator does not use such words. Even when the child is wrong, you say, wow, that's very nice. Could you try it in this way or that way so that we can add it to what we are doing? Don't say shut up or you are saying rubbish. Some teachers are the reason why some students could not move higher in life, because they dampened their spirit. They reduced them to nothing in the presence of their mates. They make their mates to make fun of them in class. As a tech-savvy educator, when someone makes a mistake, as a 21st century educator, sorry to say, when someone makes a mistake in your class and the children want to laugh, you stop them from laughing. You tell them, no, you don't need to laugh. You don't need to laugh. She's making a contribution. Don't allow them to bully anyone. Everyone is important. Stop them from laughing. Even at home with your children, stop them from laughing. Because when you laugh, you are killing someone's confidence. You are instilling low self-esteem into that child. So do your best to make sure that you train your students to respect every other person's opinion, no matter how irrelevant it may be at that time. Make them to always embrace one another's opinion. Some people's opinion may not match at the time of delivering it, but it will match soon. So always embrace an interactive session. Allow your students to contribute to everything that goes on in the class. Now, how can you be a 21st century educator that is relevant? Beyond borders, embrace a global classroom. How can you embrace a global classroom? Create one. Create one. Do your research. What happens in a classroom in China? How do they operate in China? Bring a picture or bring a regalia. Bring something that is realistic to your kind of class. Bring something that is relevant to your kind of class. Don't be, no, we cannot get anything that they are using in China here. Do your research. There are things that are relevant to all the things that you are doing. Get their pictures, bring them to your class and use them. You don't need to go to China to know how they operate in their class. You don't need to go to Japan to know how they operate in their classroom. That is why technology is very important. Use them. Do your research. Go on Google, search other platforms, and make your research so that by the time you come to your classroom, you would have created something on the wall that gives an impression of an international classroom. You say, okay, now we are in China. Let's recreate this scenario. Okay, let's go to India. This is how an Indian class operates. This is how a German class operates. Go beyond borders. Don't say, no, in the curriculum, we have to stick to it, or else the proprietress will be unhappy. Who told you the proprietress does not like good things? Have you tried it? Try it, and the proprietress will come down to your level because she knows that the parents are giving a good report about your class. Don't be too stuck about what will the proprietress say? How will I do this? How will I do that? The challenges we have in government primary schools is that they are so used to let's stick to the curriculum. That is why when you find these children outside their classroom, they find it challenging to be able to adapt, not because they are foolish or not because they don't know what to do, but the application was restricted to curriculum, book. They did not make it realistic for them. So they find it hard to adapt to situations outside their classroom. Make your class a global one. Make it beyond borders. Connect with native people as a teacher and learn from them and apply it to your class. And if you are a virtual teacher, connect with native people around the world and ask them, how does this thing operate in your side? Tell me, okay, how can I make mine work? That is how you make your class to go beyond borders. Another point is gamify your grammar. Gamify your grammar. What does it mean to gamify your grammar? Turn your grammar into a game. Don't say, come to the class and say, well, the introductory technology of the application of the man and the children are already confused. The children are already confused. Don't confuse them. Turn your class into a game and make the children to add their contribution and make the class lively. Now, what else can you do? Personalize. I told you in the stories that I shared, personalize your lesson. Each person has a personal story. The difference between you and the next teacher that is making an impact is your story. So create a story for them and make it personalized so that they can apply it at any time. Now, your performance should be powerful. Every time you get to teach, make your performance powerful. Don't make it boring. Let your children understand that this class that you are teaching is not restricted to the class. They can apply it anywhere they go to. Now, what else can you do? Embrace a lot of things. Like I said, be a tech-savvy teacher. Embrace collaborative effort. Make your class beyond borders. Now, as a 21st century educator, when you embrace these techniques, you use the simplest language possible. Facilitate your class to a point where even when you are not there, your children will be able to stand on their own, to be able to replicate what you have instilled into them. Don't create zombies. Don't create robots. Create versatile and creative students so that in turn, they too will become versatile and creative teachers in the future. Because the student you are teaching today will be the teacher of your children in the future. So as a 21st century educator. Contribute so much, so well, be so perfect and excellent that your future children will be proud of you tomorrow. Thank you so much, Medinat. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Janice Julchit Adedeji. I am not only a 21st century educator, but a sought after public speaker, a trainer, a moderator, and an event coordinator. Thank you so much, Medina.
Wow. I felt like I was in the classroom already. Thank you so much for I mean, this has to be we have to go back and watch this. Even me, I was wondering that part where you're saying, okay, now we're in China, now we're in India. I'm like, okay, you know. Thank you so much, Coach Janice. It's been an expressive session. Because of our time, we'll not be able to take questions now, but you can drop your question in the comment section. Coach Janice would be glad to answer them. And do you have any course or any program, ma'am?
Yes, I do. I have a mentoring program where I help individuals and corporate organizations as well as teams to be able to boost their confidence. I also have a collaborative course that I'm doing with three of my connections and very close friends on Seller. We intend to run it in August. We are onboarding right now. And I look forward to having some of you subscribe to that course. You will have an amazing time. We have a course on confidence. We have it on how your mindset affects you and also your branding. So I look forward to having you subscribe to that course. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And Coach Janice is across all social media platforms. I mean, she's everywhere. She's everywhere. She's an inspiration to some of us that are just. I feel like I'm still very new in the education industry, despite being there for a while. So thank you so much. You can connect with her right away on across all social media platforms while we bring up our next guest. I love the fact that the comment section is on fire because we have a lot of touch like punchlines just dropping. Okay, Toyosi, please quickly ask your question. Toyosi has a question. What's your question, Toyosi? So that coach will just answer while we wait for our next speaker. Toyosi, please go on. Oh, all right. So we just wait for our we wait for our question later, or we can just take it later while we I mean, okay, let me I have some. Okay, these are private chats. Okay, so please make sure that your questions are dropped in the comment section so that we'll be able to take them live. Thank you so much, Coach Chinese, and we'll be bringing up on board our next speaker. So my next speaker is Coach Efeni. I mean, I've known him for a while. We've had to do some things together for a while, and it's been an amazing experience knowing him. He's I don't know if I call him monetization coach, but he's more into book consultancy. He helps brands to actually put their ideas together into a book. So Coach Feni will be joining us in our next edition. Our next session. Our next session, rather. Okay, so I guess Coach Feni, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning, but we can see your face. Okay.
I want to use I want to use slide.
Hello.
Like, can you see my slides?
All right. You'll be using slides.
Can you see my
Okay,
slides?
go on, please. We can see your slide. Go on.
Okay.
So I will just I will check out while you take over. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Good morning. And for those that will be watching the replay, all right, you're welcome to my session. And thank you so much to the organizers of this conference. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. And thank you to my host, Medinat. We have known ourselves like uh, it's been a long time, sure, right? So I really appreciate you for this opportunity to share. Okay, so we want to look at how to leverage social media for visibility and income as an educator, right? Now, one of the things that a lot of people, especially school teachers, school owners, educators generally, one of the things they really want to know is how they can use social media as an educator to grow their visibility and also grow their income. So, in this session, I'm going to share with you several things that can help you as an educator to increase your income and your visibility. Okay, now let me ask you this question. How many of us have been able to make 1 million naira from social media as an educator this year? So in the past 6 months, have you been able to make 1 million naira from social media, not from something offline? Using social media as an educator, you're able to make 1 million naira in the past 6 months. Anyone? Let me see if there's a comment. Okay, I'm not seeing any comment. So while the comment is going on, now, so let me go back to my slide. Where's my slide? Okay. So I know that a lot of people may be like, is it possible to make that kind of money on social media in the past 6 months? You can even make more than that, right? And I'm not saying this out of head knowledge. I'm saying this out of practical experience because I myself have been able to do that in the past 6 months and even more. Okay. Now, so it is very possible to use social media. Okay. So education has gone beyond just teaching in a classroom. Education is now something you can get online. But the question now is, are you that educator that is leveraging social media to impact your lives, to impact lives, sorry, and to generate income for yourself? If no, then you are wasting your potentials as an educator. Your potential as an educator is not limited or restricted to the four walls of um, a classroom, right? It's beyond the four walls of a classroom. You are not designed and created to just teach in a classroom. You're not designed and created to just teach a subject. You're beyond that. Your potentials as an educator is beyond that. Because what I see a lot of people do is they focus on the subject, thinking that's what makes them as an educator. No, it's beyond that. It's beyond that. Now, let's move ahead. So, who is an educator? So, someone may say, okay, is an educator is someone that teaches a specific subject in the classroom. Now, that is what we know, but that's not correct. An educator is an expert who has years of experience both in a specific subject and versatile in other areas through research and study. Now, when you flip it around, you see that the right definition will make you to think outside the box, but the wrong definition will put you inside the box. So, one of the reasons why many educators are struggling to be visible and are struggling financially is because their perception or the definition of who an educator is has limited their earning capacity and their visibility. So you hear things like I am an English teacher, I am a French teacher. Our host, she's a French instructor, right? But she did not box herself as a French instructor. When you define yourself as an educator who just teaches a specific subject in the classroom, you're going to box yourself. You will not be able to expand your visibility and generate more income for yourself. So start seeing yourself beyond just teaching a specific subject. Now, What can social media do for you as an educator? What can social media do for you as an educator? Number one is visibility. Now, visibility here means that you are seen. The right people sees you. The people that will value the experience you have, value the skill set you have, value the knowledge and wisdom you have as an educator. When they when they see you, they'll be able to say, "Oh, no, I want to patronize this person. I want to hire this person's services. I want to hire this person's expertise." But if you are not visible to them, social media will not be profitable to you, right? So, what social media can do for you as an educator is that when you properly set up your social media platforms, it makes you to become visible to the right people that will appreciate, value, and reward your expertise, your wisdom, your experiences, your knowledge, the sacrifice you have put into developing yourself, getting certifications, and so many other things that has helped you as an educator. So some educators, they work in places where they are not well appreciated in terms of salary, in terms of um, certain rewards that would motivate them, right? Um, I'm coming. Just give me like 1 minute. Let me quickly do something. Just want to do something. 1 minute. Okay, so we're back. Sorry about that. Now, I was saying something, right? That some educators are not well appreciated, right? In terms of their salary and some other things. And one of the reasons is because they are not visible to the right people. When you're not visible to the right people, the kind of reward you get will be undervalued. People will undervalue you when you're not visible to the right people. That's a quote. Can you put it in the comment section? People will undervalue you. Yeah, okay. People will undervalue you when you are not visible to the right people. People will take you for granted when you're not visible to the right people. Your income will not increase when you're not visible to the right people. Your opportunities will not increase when you're not visible to the right people. So visibility is key, and social media can help you get that visibility when done properly, which we'll come to. All right. So that's about visibility. So that's the first thing social media can do for you. Now, the second thing that social media can do for you as an educator is income generation. Excuse me. Now, when I say income generation, I'm not just talking about teaching your subject, right? We have educators who do home lessons online home lessons. August is coming, holiday lessons, right? That's one way to generate income. But don't box yourself into just teaching your subject. In fact, when you focus on just teaching your subject, you're still the only difference is you're using technology, right? You're not in a physical classroom. So that's the difference. You're using technology and maybe a bit of increase in the pay, but you're still spending so much time because you're doing one on one, maybe two in a virtual room. That's good, but you have to step it up a bit because we're talking about using social media for income generation. You need to start thinking about, okay, how can you use social media to generate income for yourself without so much investing your time in doing it consistently. So let me give you an example. Now, one of the ways you can generate income for yourself is to create what is called a digital product, right? It can be an ebook, it can be an online course. For instance, um, our host has a lot of digital products, books, courses around our experiences, right? So because she has those digital products, she doesn't have to depend solely on offering her services as an educator alone. So that's one of the things that social media can do for you as an educator. It helps you generate income from your experiences without so much, without depending so much on offering your your educational services, without so much without depending so much on spending your time. We're talking about time here. You don't want to be doing 4 times every week lessons, home lessons, and you don't have anything that would take your time, right? It should be worth it, number one. Then number two, you should have other things that brings income, so that that thing that takes your time, which is something you're passionate about, right, will not will not make your finances to suffer, right? You will enjoy teaching as an educator when you know that this is not the only thing that brings income for me. For instance, even if it's 200,000 naira every month, let's say you teach online and you get 200,000 naira every month, right? The 200,000 naira would get exhausted. But imagine if you have digital products that you sell apart from the teaching online, and that digital product brings in another 200,000 naira. That's 400,000 naira. So you're teaching, but you are excited because you know that what I'm teaching now, I'm spending my time, but I have other things that can supplement this income. So I'm not just taking out time to teach, I'm also enjoying it and I have backups. That's one of the privilege that social media can give to us as educators. It creates that backup income for you. All right. So now let's move ahead. So, how can you get these results of visibility and income generation? How can you get these results of visibility and income generation? Number one is stick to a niche. Okay. So, you don't want to just be called an educator, you want to create a niche and stick to it. Now, for instance, there are people who have created a niche around Igbo language, right? So they help um, children, adults, depending on the audience, right, to be able to learn the Igbo language fluently, use it to interact, right? So that's a niche. So you can create a niche. Then the next thing you do is to build a brand around that niche, because social media is a place where people don't buy from people, they buy from brands. People don't buy from people, they buy from brands. So a brand is simply a perception, right? A perception of a unique. I'm trying to put it in a way that it will be very simplified, right? A brand is a unique perception. Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. A unique perception of a particular um a particular how would I put it? How would I put this now? A brand is a unique perception, right, of a specific um I don't want to use the word product or service, right? A brand is a unique perception of a specific phenomenon. So let me give you an example. Now, when you hear the word Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola is not just a product. Coca-Cola is a perception. So when people are losing energy and they're tired, one of the first thing that comes to their mind is Coke. So when people want to learn Igbo language, what comes to their mind should be you. That's if that's the niche you pick. So that's what I mean by a unique perception, not a product or service. The first thing that comes to their mind is, um, let's say there's a name for it. So let's call it um, Igbo learns services, for instance, Igbo learn services. So when they want to learn Igbo language or they want their children to learn Igbo language, what comes to their mind is Igbo learn services. That's what comes to their mind, not who they want to buy from. Is when it has entered their mind and they will not be like, okay, let's buy from this person. So that's why I said people buy from brands, not from people. So learn how to build a brand, have a brand name if possible. So we have business brands, personal brands. So you can have a business brand name, right? You can have a personal brand name, right? So the goal is that you're building a perception around your niche and you're not just being a general educator. You are specializing on something that people, when they see you create content consistently around that thing, they associate you to that particular brand. Then number three is you need to learn how to create offers and sell. So one thing that I say a lot of people do online on social media is they just keep posting pictures of what they do, but they never create offers. So people don't buy products and services, they buy your offers. So let me give you an example. So let's go back to the Igbo language. Hope we are together because it looks like if I'm talking to myself. Can I get feedbacks so I know that we're together on this? Can I get feedbacks? Can I get feedback so that I know we're together on these? We're together. Okay, awesome. Awesome. All right. So create offers and sell. So I was saying that people, what I say online majorly is people post pictures of what they do. So let's use the Igbo language to create an offer. Now let's look at Mr. A and Mr. B. Mr. A sells Igbo language online. Mr. B sells Igbo language online. So Mr. B says, um, learn Igbo language. I'll teach your children how to learn Igbo language. You can pay me 50,000 naira monthly to learn Igbo language. Versus Mr. B says, do you want your children to pass your generational heritage of Igbo language mastery so that when you are no longer alive, they can pass that inheritance of that heritage of always speaking Igbo to their children's children? Then join our 30 days Igbo language speaking challenge for kids age 5 to 15, for instance. You're going to learn number one, how to speak Igbo language in 30 days. Number two, you're going to learn how to create content or stories in Igbo language. You're going to learn how to open a YouTube channel for your children so that they can teach other people how to speak Igbo language and they can start making money from YouTube as an Igbo language children's tutor or something like that. Now, the difference between A and B, we can see it that A is just saying, come and learn. B is making you see the value in what they want you to pay for. That's the difference. So don't be an educator that just say, come and learn this, come and buy this course, come and buy this. No, people don't just buy things. You have to create offers, right? So that's for the first three aspects of how you can get visibility and generate income using social media. Now let's move on. Okay, so how can you get results in terms of visibility and income generation? Next one is invest in content creation. So you can imagine we started with stick to a niche, right? Build a brand, create over sell. You have to invest in content creation. So you don't become visible on social media by wishing that you become visible. You have to invest in content creation. You have to write content, do videos. Don't say, I don't know how to. Anything you don't know how to do is because you don't want to learn how to do it. Anything you don't know how to do is because you don't want to learn how to do it. So you have to invest in content creation, learn how to create content. These things are things that I had to learn many years ago, and it's helping me today. So learn how to create content. If you are struggling with how to put your content together, you can go to YouTube, find content that can help you, or you pay someone to teach you. Don't be a freebie seeker. Take money out of your pocket, invest in yourself. You want people to pay you, then you have to pay somebody so that people can pay you. People are paying me today because I started paying other people. That's the philosophy I believe in, that if you want people to pay you, then start paying people. And if you are paying people and people are not paying you, is either any of these reasons. Number one, you're not implementing the things that you pay for. Or number two, you're paying for the wrong things. You're not paying for the right things that you should implement to get results. Because I say a lot of people say, oh, I've paid for course, I've paid for this, nothing is progressing. It's because number one, you're either not implementing what you paid for, or number two, you're paying for the wrong things that will not give you results when you implement them. Right? So back to what I was saying, invest in content creation. Very, very important. Invest in content creation. Learn how to create story-based content, educational content, entertainment content, frequently asked questions. There are different types of content that you can learn how to create. And one of the fastest ways to create content is to always engage on other people's posts. Create meaningful comments, and it will develop your skills. Commenting is one of the ways to develop your content creation skills. This is a quote I just formulated now. Maybe I'll post it on my timeline. Commenting on other people's posts is one of the ways to develop your content creation skills. So, the next thing is you want to get results for visibility and income generation. Learn how to run adverts, especially Facebook, Instagram adverts. Now, why I brought this is because um, social media is a dynamic platform, right? And you don't want to, okay, for instance, I only posted once yesterday. I've not posted today. So if I go back to post now, of course, the algorithm won't have to try and wake up before people start engaging. Now, I'm not posting, but I'm running ads. So if I wait till I only create content before I make sales, before I generate income from social media, I'll be wasting time. It will be slow, not fast as I want. So you need to not just create content, but also learn how to run ads for your offers. Remember, I talked about offers. So when you create offers, run ads, don't just post organically. Learn how to um, pay influencers. If you don't have that kind of money to pay influencers, Facebook influencers, WhatsApp influencers, then go and learn how to run ads yourself or hire someone. But I would prefer you learn it yourself, because when you learn something yourself, you make all the mistakes, you keep learning, and you become better at it. So learn how to run ads. It will increase your visibility big time. Especially learn how to run lead generation ads. So lead generation ads has to do with getting potential buyers to give you their contact details, their email, their WhatsApp contact, so you give them something for free. So for instance, if let me use the Igbo language tutoring for instance. So if I'm running an Igbo language tutoring business on social media and I want to run ads, what I'm going to do is I'll do a I'll give a free introduction or seven steps to teach your child Igbo language easily, something like that, as a parent. So when I get people to download it, put them in my WhatsApp group or Telegram group, I'll be putting out content there. Then in between, I'll sell my offers to them. They'll be seeing my posts on Facebook, on Instagram, or WhatsApp, depending on where I am, and I will be selling to them. And I'll be consistently getting those people to come into my group. That's one of the ways to increase your visibility to generate income. Then the last thing I would say is get an accountability coach. Now, one of the reasons you want to get or two major reasons you want to get accountability coach. One is information overload. So a lot of people, especially educators, they come on social media. They are really, they desire to make money on social media. They desire to be visible. They pay for different courses, classes, books, and they just get overwhelmed with the information they are paying for. And that's where you need accountability. That's where you need an accountability coach to declutter the confusion in your mind, because you are already overwhelmed with so many things. So your mind needs to be cleared from the influence of the information overload. So you know the right information you should start focusing on and implement so you can get results. Then the second reason why you need an accountability coach is because there's every tendency to procrastinate. I'll do this, I'll write a book, I'll create a course, I would create content on social media, I would run ads. All these things are not new. You already know them. But why you're not doing them is because you're procrastinating. You don't have an accountability coach. So when you get an accountability coach, he or she will help you overcome information overload and overcome procrastination. Right. So I'm going to stop here. I know it was short, but short is always the best so that you can get the impact of the value. So I'm going to stop here and I'll wait for questions before I share an offer that will be of value to you and help you. All right. So over to you, Medinat. Are you there? Can someone reach out to Medinat that I'm done? So if there are any questions, so I can quickly respond.
Let's ask our questions. Let's ask our question. I'm here. Thank you so much, Coach Efeni. I
Thank
mean,
you.
like I said, it's nothing short of value as I expected. Of course, this conference is not for me, it's for the audience. It's for me, but I feel like a lot of these things we need to be reminded as educators. And so, for everybody on board, thank you so much for joining. If you'll be catching the replay, please let's ask our question. Our next speaker is already in the waiting room. If you have a question, just drop it there, be highlighted, and Coach Feni will answer. Any question? Okay. I think we okay, no question for now. Coach Feni, thank you so much for joining. Let's appreciate Coach Feni. Drop your emojis, drop your bubbles, drop your drop your touch board. Thank you so much. Any question that comes up will definitely be answered. Let me check the private chat. If there's okay. You're saying, Coach Janice is saying, thank you so much. So thank you so much, Coach Feni, for this session. We'll be bringing
Thank
up
you.
on board our next guest, and of course, like I said, it is value and value and value. Till I hope when we call on you on the next time, you will be able to to show up. Please,
Of
Coach
course.
Feni, offer for us? Do you have any offer?
Anyone who wants to be held accountable to grow their visibility and create content on social media can reach out to me. I have an offer for them.
All right. What are social media handles, sir? The social media handles.
Okay, they should just search God's Time Ifeni Nathaniel on Facebook. I'm more active on Facebook. So just search that. You'll be able to send me a message on Facebook.
All right. Thank you so much, and I really, really appreciate. Merci
Thank
beaucoup.
you.
Better to bring out my French version.
Thank you.
Bye for now. Okay, it's been an interesting section. I don't know if you're enjoying like I'm doing, but I know that it's been a really, really great section with Coach Afeni. Coach, our next speaker is already on board. Please don't be shy to ask your questions. We are here because you are here. I'm beginning to sound like marketers, but we are here because we are here, and of course, will you make this a success? So right away, I'm going to be bringing up on board the third speaker for today, and she is Coach Salome. Coach Salome, all the way from because Salome is all the way from where I want to say where the bag of money is. She denied it outrightly yesterday, but I refuse to accept because she's from that place. If you know where the bag of money is right now in Nigeria, because that's where she's from. Welcome on board, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Can anyone hear
Can
me?
we? Yes, we can. Please let
Oh,
us know in the comment section if we can hear Coach Salome so that she can continue. Let's know in the comment section if you can hear her. She needs to be sure she's not alone. Can we hear Coach Salome?
can you hear
I,
me? Can anyone hear me?
yes,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Um, Not to take much of our time, I'll just be as fast as possible because 30 minutes seems short, but just like the last speaker said, short is good. So I'll try as much as possible to see that I deliver well. So our topic, what I'll be speaking on is inclusive education. I'm a special needs therapist and educational consultant. So I basically preach inclusive education because our special education services, it's a bit poor here in Nigeria. We're just coming up. So if teachers would, like general education teachers would just learn the skills, it will really help because we have them. Like basically, 1 in 5 children have a special need. But most times we like to argue that, but based on research, 1 in 5 children in your class as an educator require special needs education. And sometimes we see teachers would say, oh no, most of my children are exceptional children. Even exceptional children need special needs attention, yes. So because sometimes they get bored in class because they might have known what you are about to teach them or what you're doing already. So they end up becoming bored and then disrupting your class. So you have to have the skill to be able to keep them in check. Yes, let me use that word. So skills highly sought after educators should have to support students with diverse learning needs. All right, in today's discussion, we're going to understand diverse learning needs and its importance. That's the importance of inclusive education, skills needed for educators, and then practical strategies and examples. Then we'll look at challenges and solutions because the truth is, in everything we do, there are always challenges, but by God's grace, they should be a way out. The world needs all kinds of minds. Inclusive education ensures that every student's potential is recognized and nurtured. This is by Temple Garden. So I use it all the time. I don't know why, but it captures my attention to inclusive education. So, what is inclusive education and diverse learning? I will define them separately, but I will just use the definition of inclusive education throughout. I don't want to merge it. I don't want to bore us with inclusive education. I just want us to work with the skills we need now. So, in short definition, let me just be as fast as possible. Inclusive education is an educational approach that seeks to include all students, regardless of their abilities or backgrounds, in the mainstream classroom, providing the necessary support to ensure their success. So I've been in a class where we have children with autistic children, children with ADHD, and then children with dyslexia. And it's so unfortunate that most times we only pay attention to those who we think need, as educators, those who we think need the support, then we tend to forget um, the children with special needs. Now, in the category I called autism, ADHD, and dyslexia, in most cases, we'll find out that most teachers will say, oh, autistic children and ADHDs are not my my calling. Let me see if I'll be able to manage this child with dyslexia. But most times, you don't even know if the child is dyslexic. We just feel maybe the child is a dullard, which no child is a dullard. The child is just a struggling child. So let me see this child. Let me see if I can manage this child that is stressing me. That is what we always say. But we forget to include every other person. We always leave out the autistic child and the HDRs, ADHDs. So um, inclusive education preaches wrongly about that. You have to include all of them. Even when you're carrying out an activity and then you feel, okay, maybe the autistic child will not be able to do that particular activity. Sometimes it just requires time. I know we are always in a hurry, but it gives you fulfillment as an educator when you see that child do at least, even if it's just 30% of the activity you put on ground for them to do. So, inclusive education preaches more on you including every child, regardless of their backgrounds, and then in the mainstream class, providing all the necessary support is very hard for you to be able to give, or mainly for children with autism. You won't be able to give them all the emotional education. Most times, general education teachers just give the educational, because supporting an autistic child emotionally, socially is very, very hard. That's why you would want to have a teacher assistant and all. So quickly, what is diverse learning needs? Diverse learning needs encompasses a wide range of requirements that students may have due to differences in learning styles and background. I think this is simple enough. Let me go back to that slide. Diverse learning needs are needs. Let me put it this way: are needs that encompasses a wide range of requirements. That's to say, it just doesn't have to do with disabilities, disorders, or difficulties. Most times, as educators, we make the mistake. We make the mistake of sidelining trauma as part of diverse learning needs. We made the mistake of sidelining language barrier, of sidelining cultural background. So here are examples of diverse learning needs. We have disabilities, which I mentioned, like physical disabilities, AD, autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and more. Then we also have learning difficulties. I know a lot of us still find it difficult to understand that there's a difference between disability, disorder, and difficulties. But yes, there's a difference. Of recent, the US had to give it a division so that everybody gets to understand that these children fall in different categories. So we have learning differences, which is dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, dysapraxia, and the likes of it. Then cultural background. I at some point before I education, it was a bit difficult for me. Is a diverse learning need because I feel everybody can be understood based on their tradition. But when along the line I got to understand that truly it's for me it's a difficulty because when I come to when I come to, let's say, Lagos, and then I find how they do their things, like mainly the Yorubas, the core Lagos people. It might be a bit difficult for me to adjust. And then imagine them integrating it into the classroom now. It's going to be way difficult for one to be able to adjust. So it's a diverse learning needs, and then teachers need to address that. Imagine someone who has been in the east all his life, then his parents located down to the core north where there's no English. That is a cultural um, diverse learning needs. Then we come to the learning background, learning language barrier. Sorry, mainly English language. I've worked with a child who came from Katsina State down to Abuja. That child could not speak English. It was difficult, but glory, hallelujah. I speak Hausa, so I was able to communicate with the child, even though I wasn't a classroom teacher. I was just the Senko, but and I only work with a few children because we have other therapists. But then I just had to be the one who would help the child because most of the therapists in the class in the school could not speak Hausa, so I just had to just come in and then help. And then other classroom teachers who could speak Hausa as well, they had to help during class teachings, and also putting all of these things in mind, putting all of these examples in mind helps the general classroom teacher to to integrate inclusive education into the classroom. So here are importance of inclusive education. Now, for the benefits, it promotes a sense of belonging to the school and the community. And then for emotional, it enhances self-esteem and reduces stigma. The truth is, I'm a dyslexic child, and I know how I grew up. At a point, I could not read. So I knew the stigma I got. Like when, in school, in the class, they would say, okay, let's read aloud, or things will be shared in paragraphs. And then when I come up to read, and then I'm picking my words one after the other because I practically got intervention for myself. I taught myself everything because at that point, I don't think people knew what was wrong with me, even though mine was as a result of trauma. It was just, we call it traumatic dyslexia. So at a point, my self-esteem reduced like drastically because I didn't want to always be called to come in front of the class. Now, someone like me who didn't have stage fright started having stage fright. And then I started becoming isolated. I used to be a very social person, and then all of a sudden I started reducing my circle. I started staying alone, and then it wasn't helping at all. Then it became something else. So having to infuse inclusive education, having to work with inclusivity helps enhances self-esteem for the child and reduces stigma. Even you as a teacher, there's a way you carry your shoulder up when you have those skills, because Anybody who comes to you and meets you and explains to you that, okay, I have this child in my class and I feel something is wrong, or you see, you find out that the teacher is speaking negatively on that child, you would be able to interpret. At least you'll be able to you'll be able to have a sense of humor, and then make the teacher understand as well, make the teacher have a sense of humor based on what you understand. So that's one thing that inclusive education does. Also, it improves for based on academics, improves educational outcomes for students. Believe you me, I've worked with a child, an autistic child, and then she's one of my success stories. Even though I didn't start working with her, I started working with her when she was in like nursery three. That's just she was about going to year one, and that's like 6 years ago. That was when I started working with her. And then currently, she reads, she writes, she's fully integrated into the classroom. The only thing the teachers do, that's the special needs therapists do, is just to check her behavior, because of course behavior comes in. So obviously there's going to be a lot of behavior modification and the likes of it. Now, inclusive education did to that child is they did not segregate her for social activities. They did not put her, they didn't sideline her when it came to academics. She was incorporated fully into the classroom, that now she sits with her mates. She's currently in year four, going to year five. And then there's going to be graduation ceremony and all. And then I just found out, because I left the place, I stopped working with schools, I work on my own now. So I just found out that she's going to be an interpreter for the play during graduation. And that was because, okay, at some point the school was beginning to slack, was beginning to get slack on inclusive education. We had to stand our ground and tell them, you need to do this. Even during inter-house sports, they had to, they pulled out her name for a few activities. And then I stood and said, it's not possible. This girl rehearsed with us during other activities. So why are we putting her? Is it because we want to win? Inclusive education doesn't preach that. What inclusive education preaches is, just get this child to do this. At the end, there's going to be winning. That is it. It doesn't matter whether they come first or not. That's one thing that inclusive education does. When you run an inclusive school or you run an inclusive classroom, please, there's no competition. That is just the truth. The competition should be sidelined, because you want to carry everyone along. Yes, there might be competition between the exceptional, but trust me, they will believe. They will believe, and they will understand that, okay, this teacher is only trying to carry these people along so that we would be able to move along. I've consulted for a school where I noticed the teachers attaching the neurotypical children with the neurodivergent children, and I was shocked, because in my mind, you said this school is not an inclusive school. So what exactly do you think you're doing? Because by the time you say, okay, if this child is fully independent, this is a neurotypical child, then I want to pick this child and attach him to one autistic child who is not independent, who still lacks social skills and the likes of it, so that you'll be able to build. Sometimes children learn from their peers now. By the time you merge them, you know that there's going to be a lot of improvements, like based on the milestone you want to cover as a teacher or as a therapist now. So when I noticed all of those things, I told them, but you people are doing well. So what exactly is the thing? They were like, oh, okay, they just need someone who would help with the children, like the one-on-one sessions and the likes of it. Because, like I said, not all teachers know how to provide other um, other areas of needs for these children. So it was quite shocking to find out that these teachers could do all of these things without the knowledge of the school management. And then I told them, you're doing well. So That is inclusive education coming to play, but they didn't even know. One thing is, most times we as a general education teachers, we do all of these things, but we don't even know. But now I'm here to tell you that you have to be very intentional about them. You have to be very, very intentional about all of the skills. Now, this is what it does to, this is also the impact it does on every individual now that is involved in inclusive education. One, it prepares them for life in a diverse society, because them seeing how you as a general educator treat them alone has a way of making them feel relaxed, because I know that this is my therapist. He always calls me petty names and all, like he gives me all the pet names and all, assuming I'm a child with special needs now. And then I then come and go to my class, and then my teacher treats me differently. By differently, I mean like in a mean way, or just neglects me. You know that number one is going to bring down the child's self-esteem, and then you're not helping the child to become independent as well. And then you don't know how that child will behave when it's outside, when he's he or her or the child is in a different society, in a diverse society. So by the time you inculcate inclusive education into your classroom, it prepares the child for life in a diverse society. Also for the schools, if you notice now, schools now have this there's a way they advertise their schools. Is either they'll tell you special education needs unit, like that's to tell you that they have that, or they'll tell you it's inclusive school. They'll say special let me use heyday Montessori, Montessori and inclusive school, or heyday inclusive school, something like that, so that it's going to give the name a boost. But it's one thing to call yourself that, it's another thing to practice inclusive education. So for schools, it promotes a positive and inclusive school culture. Then on communities, it builds a more inclusive and equitable society. The truth is, for schools in like Lagos, in like Abuja, who practice inclusive education, you know that once anybody is coming in to the country, the first places they would want to settle down, like say they are moving back to Nigeria, for those who jackpot, they would want to look for inclusive schools. And then because you can't tell me, I'm from Gombe State, so you can't tell me because I'm from Gombe State, I would want to go and settle in Gombe State. So what about the needs of my child? I cannot just go and put that child in a school that cannot cater for him, knowing fully well that I'm coming from a country who does well in that aspect. Now, I have a child with autism, and then progress has been done. I cannot put the child back. Like I had a parent. She was in Lagos. Then she was transferred to Yola, that's Adamawa State. The moment she moved in there, 6 months later, she had to send the children back to their father in Abuja, because the school wasn't conducive enough. The schools there were not inclusive enough for the child. And then the community itself the community was looking at the child as possessed. So, because preaching inclusion, it's a bit low. It's one of my goals for like my next 2 3 years goals, to preach inclusive education and special needs education in the core north. So because I'm from the north, yes. So we want to build a community that accepts these children. We don't want a situation whereby children with high potentials are being pushed away because of the community, because the community has not embraced inclusive education. So when a community embraces inclusive education, and it starts from the schools and the parents, Now, it builds a more inclusive and equitable society. That's to say, everybody is practically on the same level. Yeah, forget money and all, but at least the social, the emotional, and the likes of it criteria of the child is being met. Any question? Are we together? Let me check the comments section to see. Okay.
Not for now. I think you should just like continue and then round up. We'll take the question at the end of your section, ma.
Okay. All right. So let me just move on to this. This is the key points, the skills for educators. I picked just three because these are like this. The three are just like the umbrella. It's just like the umbrella of all the other skills. So one of the skills is adaptability. So for flexibility in for adaptability, it just tells on you being flexible in teaching methods to accommodate different learning styles and needs. Sometimes we as teachers, we forget that these children have learning styles. We just go by one that's conducive for us. But then we forget that there are different types of, there are different learning styles, and every child has his or her own unique learning styles. If you're lucky enough, you might be able to find children who have three in one learning style, so like more of them in your classroom, so you're good to go. Anyone you use is fine. But then imagine you have just a child whose learning style is based is his learning style is visual. He just learns through visualizing things. It's going to be very, 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 very difficult for schools who have not um, adapted technology. Yes, because that child may even get tired of seeing the same pictures every time. Let's say when you have just all these plaques and all, and the old picture calendars and the likes of it, the child might get tired of seeing it. And then you as a teacher, you might want to be as creative as possible so that you'll be able to meet the child's needs, your students' needs now. So when it comes to adaptability, I classified adaptability into different groups. Now we have co-teaching. That's to say, if you have, let's say you have a teaching assistant in your class, and then you would want to come together to teach. There's this stick that sometimes we do because we have class assistants. We would want to divide the subjects. Okay, now I think skills for educators is trying to say you're doing well. It's not as if you're not doing well, but at the same time, I think you're you need to do more by co-teaching instead of splitting the subjects. Why don't you just split the class into different categories? Category 1, category 2, and category 3, depending on your capacity. I know of a class, the former school I was working, they categorized the class into 4. The first 2 was for the main teacher, and then the second 2 was for the teaching assistant. So when a particular subject is going on, both of them are doing the work. It's exhausting, but truthfully, it helped because before the end of the session, group 3 and 4 were able to meet up with group 1 and 2. They could read. This was kindergarten class. They could read. At least, even if not all, but even if not all, but at least majority of them were able to move from category 1 and category 3 and 4 to 1 and 2. Then they now splitted the class now into 3 instead of 4. because those before were like children who had never been to school, but the parents just wanted to hasten because they were because of corona and everything, they were like up to 4 years. They need to just be in school. And then instead of them to start from preschool, the parents didn't let that happen. They just wanted the child to be in the class, the age appropriate for their peers. For co-teaching now, is a one teach, one assist kind of teaching. That's one. And then you can also do teaching station. You can divide the children, just like I said, divide the children, or also divide the content. You can, if you have the energy, you can as well just break down that content into different. There's a way you can just give out what you're teaching in a cumbersome way to these exceptional children, and then there's a way you have to break it down for these children, but at least you're able to meet their needs. And then we also have team teaching. You and your assistants can actively work together. She's doing this, you're doing this. You can all join like a group teaching kind of thing, and then everybody does that. Everybody participates. Now then, for empathy, please, do you understand what I mean by adaptability? As sorry, I don't know what's wrong. My slides are touching. Okay. Let's move on to empathy. That's to say, understanding and addressing individual needs with compassion. There was this teacher who was teaching year 6 children in a particular school where I just went to train, and then I noticed the way he was. I noticed the way he was going about one particular child in his class. The girl has a ADHD, and then she's a little bit. She's on the mild side of dysgraphia. Dysgraphia means writing difficulty. So she has a lot of ideas up here, but putting it down to writing became very, very difficult. And then because of ADHD, it became a huge problem because the more she's trying to focus so that she writes down what is up here, the more ADHD is playing its part in her head. And then one thing with ADHD, the moment something you just bang the table, the child gets distracted. Somebody passes, the child gets distracted. I get throws, the child gets distracted, and then they have very, very short attention span. So the way this teacher was trying to was treating this child was something that caught my attention. And I walked up to him and I told him, you don't treat children like this. You have to have empathy. Now, for this child, what do you suggest that you do? When he explained that this was it, because I had to observe and then I noticed, okay, this child has this, just based on observation. And then I had to ask also, because after the whole thing, I needed to understand, because at a point I had to report it to the school management and say something needs to be done about this child, because this girl is going to secondary school and then it's going to become a problem for this child. Now, what I did was, after asking this teacher, what do you think can be done for this child? You need to show this child empathy. Now, this is where empathy comes in. Since you know that this child gets distracted easily and then she speaks, when she talks, you know that she has it up here. Why don't you switch it? Just become inclusive. Yes, everybody is required to write in a notebook. Yes. But then, why don't you ask her to speak? It's just going to take 4 minutes of the class. And then when she speaks, you score her. That's one thing about special education, inclusive education. You have to just look for a way around everything so that you'll be able to meet the needs of that child. Yes, it can't continue for long, but by the time you start showing this child that you know what their problem is, or what her problem is, you would be able to capture the child's attention. Now, one thing about special education and having intervention is being able to connect. Connectivity is key. Most times, if parents reach out to me and say, I need your services, and I will tell them, please, I don't work with time frame. I'm sorry. I'm not the kind of therapist that will tell you in 3 months your child will begin to speak. No, because the first 1 month of intervention is for connectivity. Like, we get to connect. Sometimes I would have to go all the way down to the floor. I don't care even if there is no rug, so long as the place is clean and tiled. I would go down to that level so that I and this child can connect. And then before you know it, we are good to go. And then as fast as possible, we are meeting the milestone, the child's area of needs. I'm currently homeschooling a girl. That's why I picked to work as the third speaker. And then we started just 2 months ago. The girl had just little verbal speech, just to say she can just call one word objects, no sentence formation and the likes of it. But right now, we are far. This is someone that cannot even hold a pencil. You cannot just present a pencil, okay, come, let's write. No, it's problem. She begins to throw tantrums, to become very dramatic. But I recently shared a video of her on my Instagram page. She confidently holds a pencil, even though we use a tripod grip because she's still struggling. But even if you decide to say, okay, let me just take my attention away from this child, she will tap you. You're not looking, and I need you to look so that you'll be able to reinforce me. That's like, for me, that's what I read it as. So she does it because there's a reinforcement, and then she enjoys it. Sometimes she even sings while she's doing it. So as a teacher, you're supposed to have empathy. You're supposed to look for ways so that you'll be able to connect with that child, so that the child will be able to meet their needs. You can as well. That is where collaboration comes in. That's the next point. So from adaptability, you have to accept, yes, this, I have various kinds of teaching students in my class. Flexibility is one key thing I need to have as my skill. I have to have empathy, try to understand these children, and then see how I can address their needs with compassion. Please have compassion in quotes. And then collaboration. Now, you might wonder why or how you're going to meet empathy when you don't know where to start from. That is where collaboration comes in. I cannot, as a class teacher of year one, or let me say primary one, have a child who is still struggling to read two-letter words, sit down and say, oh, the child will learn, and not want to inform the parents. It is expected, at least in maybe um, nursery 3 or reception class, depending on how you people call it in your various schools. At least this child is able to read sight words, is able to read two-letter words, and then if possible, for some who are exceptional, they can read. Like, read. I've seen them, they would read storybooks. So imagine a child who still struggles to blend two-letter words in your class, and then let's say you have 10 children and then 9 of them can read, then you just have one who is still struggling. Deep down within you, as an educator, you will not be satisfied. Now, this is where collaboration comes in. If you're not so good with helping a child blend, let's say your area of strength is not really jolly phonics or reading. Let's just say you're just the mathematics teacher now, but you also need the child to be able to learn how to read because you are the class teacher. It's going to be a bit um you will need to collaborate with other educators. If the school
Salome,
has
can
a
you hear me,
special
ma?
needs, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. We have two questions. I'd like you to take those two questions so that we can
Okay.
wrap. Yeah, thank you. There's a question on the
No.
screen already.
Okay. 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 From Miss Janice, she said, "Is there a test for an educator to differentiate an autistic child from a dyslexic one?" I wouldn't say there is no test, and I wouldn't say there's a test. But of course, there's a test. This is why, because their this thing, what they exhibit is different. For an autistic child, he has difficulty in communication, social interaction, speech. Like you can see that there's delay in all of those aspects now. But for a child with dyslexia now, it could be that it's just reading. That's a specific learning disability. It could be that it's just reading. So yes, there is. That's why before, once you notice that this child is not, there's something not going on not so right. It doesn't behave like the neurotypical children should do. You are supposed to help the child get assessments as fast as possible. Now there are criteria. There's usually there's an educational assessment, and then there's the a medical diagnosis that can tell if these children, which category of disability or disorder or difficulty these children fall. So yes, there is a test for an
Yes.
educator, but you need to be taught on how to use it as well to differentiate these things. So, but like you would have to read about all of this before you be able to understand. Is that all? Have I
There is
answered that
another
question?
there is another question that I've put up. Please kindly answer that. Then I'll put
Okay.
up the last one. We can just wrap up.
Okay. There's another one from Miss Jenny. She said, "How can parents help educators manage their children based on their unique challenges?" Okay. The truth is, sometimes parents are quite difficult to understand, but then once you're lucky and then you get the right, you get the good, or should I say the understanding parent, you you find out that just that little understanding, just let the parents understand that you need to actively work with that child so that you'll be able to meet up. Sometimes when you tell this child, that this parent, that I feel this your child is a struggling learner, they will tell you God forbid. But if you get an understanding parent, just pray that, because honestly, the truth is prayer. Just pray that that parent has that understanding to be able to work with you, because it's just collaboration. Most times with parents, it's just collaboration. If the parent agrees to collaborate with you as an educator, you'll be able to meet the needs of the unique needs of that child. Then I have another one. Please, I
Yes,
can't,
there
Miss
is a
Malinas, I
third
can't
question.
see
This is it. Can a child have a combination of dyslexia, autism, as well as
dyslexia, autism, and yes, there's a combination of all. Autism, sometimes autism and ADHD, they come in together, they work hand in hand. Sometimes autism and dyslexia. So that's why you need to carry out an assessment. I can't just see this child and say, oh, this child has dyslexia. But now, okay, I'm working on dyslexia, let's say behavioral issues. Then I now got to realize later on, after I've been able to achieve, because I need to manage the behavior before I'm able to start working on academics now. It is then I'll now find out that this child is struggling to learn. Or let's say dyscalculia, mathematics now, is not struggling to learn numbers. So by the time you carry out an evaluation. It should tell if the child has both, that's autism and specific learning disorder. There's a way they call it, more like a cumbersome disability, something like that. I've forgotten how it's been addressed, because I basically just started assessments. Not that I don't do it, but I usually refer. But it's just now that we just started because consulting has taken place completely. So yes, the child can
All
have a
right.
combination of.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Because of our time, and then we want to take much of your time too. Thank you so much for that insightful section. I'm just learning that a child can actually have the combination of all. I've always, uh, I've always probably thought of a child having just one, and I'm even writing a book on how to raise hyperactive child, because I am one myself. I'm very hyperactive, and I have one also raising. So I mean, I see
Well,
parents struggling to accept this reality. As a teacher that I've been in the classroom for years, so I've put it upon myself to write a book, raising one hyperactive, very hyperactive. So I mean, we'll talk after this session. So I'm putting up that book, raising an hyperactive child. The sample edition is on seller if you like to get one, but the full book is coming out very, very soon. So, this is a reality that we are beginning to accept right now. It was like a myth in our educational system before now. It's interesting and very, very rewarding to see people like Coach Salome stepping up and openly declare that I'm a special need educator. Before, you used to see them as if you yourself, you are special for you to be taking special needs educator, special needs children. So, but that is it, and we really, really, really appreciate that section. Thank you so much. You've taken all the questions, and then because of time, we also like to just just wrap it up for today. Thank you so much, Coach Salome, for coming on board. Could we have access to this slide? Is it possible? I'm just asking.
yes,
Is it
yes,
okay? Okay, so that
yes,
means
it
that
is. I'll share.
all right. All right. If you want the slides, just drop it in the comment section. We'll send you the link to join us, and then you get access to the slide of Coach Salome, because it's a very comprehensive one. We just had to just stop it here. Like she said at the beginning, 30 minutes was just like have I even started? so, so thank you so much, Coach Salome, for coming. Do you have courses? Do you have books? How can we connect with you?
Yes, I have a course on special education. Is a certification course, special education, and then I have a hands-on autism course. Yes, so we just recently launched it. If you would want to participate, be part of it, you can reach me on all my social media platforms. That's just Google, just search Salome Dilla,
Okay.
and
Just
you
with
meet me
Salome
there.
Dina.
Yes.
Or you could just drop a comment section and say, okay, I'm going to connect with Coach Salome. Oh, great, great. This is good. So this is our handle across the social media platform. This is our number. If you're joining from outside Nigeria, just put +234. That will guide you so that you will not call the wrong person. So thank you so much for joining. She's on all the social media platforms. Our courses are also available. And you can also reach out to us on Teachers Reform Academy at gmail.com if you have any other question, or you also need our services, or any of other coaches that I've spoken today. Thank you so much for coming on board. And we hope when we call on you next time, you are our call.
Yes,
Thank you.
hopefully. Thank
Thank
you,
you
ma'am.
so much, ma. All right. Bye for now.
All right, bye.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming on board. It's been an amazing section. This is day one of the highly sought after educator. I'm sure you're seeing different shades of weather. Like it's raining cat and mouse and dog and horses right now in Lagos as at time of this. And so, I mean, the weather is just doing up and down. But hey, here we have, we've made it a success. It's a success already, day one. See you tomorrow, same time here. If you have benefited from this session, please do well to invite your friends. Tomorrow, I'm thinking of dropping something, but come tomorrow by 11 Nigerian time, and then we will be kicking off with three other speakers from different perspectives. Once again, my name is Medina Toyedele. I'm a bilingual educator. I'm an edupreneur. I'm a podcaster. You can connect with my podcast, Easy French with Medina, on any of your podcast station. You can connect with the Profitable Teacher podcast, of course, on all your podcast station. You can also connect with me on all my social media handle, just like that. Let me see my name, just like my name. Like my name, just like my name. Medina Oyedele. Yeah, this is it. Medina Toyedele across all social media platforms, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on X, on Twitter, on YouTube, anywhere where you are across the globe on social media platform. It's been a pleasure hosting you today. Tomorrow will be another interesting section. Remember, this is the Teachers Reform Academy flagship conference, and this is our fourth edition, the highly sought after educator. Our expectation in the academy is that at the end of every section, you will become a better educator and you become highly sought after, like Medina Toyedemi. Yes, I said so. All right, thank you so much for everybody that joined us today. If you still have questions, please do well to drop your question. And then if you catching the replay, you still have question, doesn't matter even if it's 10 years after. I mean, if Jesus Christ stories, right? We will still be here to answer your question. Otherwise, just do well to, I mean, you've learned today that you can become extraordinary teacher. Yes. Tomorrow is going to be an interesting section because there is a health section that is coming up. There is on how to leverage LinkedIn that is coming up. Oh my God. And we have another surprise one from one of our coaches. So you don't want to miss any of this. It promises to be an interesting section. Thank you so much for joining. Once again, I am Medina Oyedele. I feel like greeting you in French. Je suis Medina Oyedele et merci beaucoup d'avoir participé aujourd'hui. Rendez-vous demain à 11h. El Nigerian. All right, thank you so much, and I'm checking out. Bye for now.